The NFL trade deadline is 13 days away, and it's pretty obvious Patriots need to make moves and should make moves. So we're going to talk about three players that I think could probably end up leaving the New England Patriots just so they can get some draft stock, make some moves moving forward, and keep rebuilding. But it will mean saying goodbye to three possible players. So before I jump into that, I want to hear from you guys. Which Patriots player should be traded by the deadline? Is there a player out there that you guys think has not been playing up to par, or maybe he's just too old and we're looking to find younger guys and more draft stock that's out there? So let me know in the comment section down below before I let you guys know who I think three players, which two on defense, one on offense, could be hitting the trade block here very soon. But ultimately, let's talk about this. Any trade that they make by the NFL trade deadline needs to be for the future. It needs to be for draft capital. Do they want to possibly trade player for player and maybe bulk up this season a little bit? Yeah, but you got to also think about it. They're 1-6 right now. The NFL trade deadline is going to be on November 5th, which is 2 weeks away. I don't know how many trades and how many players the Patriots need right now to drastically turn this season around. So I'm not saying tank, but if you've got some guys that are on one-year deals, or you could possibly get some draft capital out of them now, I would squeeze every last ounce out of that and then just start looking forward to the 2025 NFL season. And with that being said, I'm going to bring up cornerback Jonathan Jones. We know the 31-year-old has been a pretty good player in the secondary so far for the Patriots defense, but obviously the cornerback that the Patriots are looking for is Christian Gonzalez. He's younger, he's in his second season, he's been a lot more dominant than Jonathan Jones is, but also playing slightly different positions here. But then you also have Marcus Jones, who's in the middle of his 20s. So now you've got a really young guy, kind of in the peak, his prime right now in the NFL. And then you have Jonathan Jones, who you guys know is 31 years old, the third oldest player on the team. Not to mention he's the 41st cornerback out of 105 right now in the NFL. He's got a pretty okay PFF grade, 66.5. It's kind of middle of the pack. Could definitely be a lot better, but he's not in his prime anymore. And then not to mention, he's going to be a free agent after this season. So there are a lot of contenders out there right now that have really dealt with a lot of defensive injuries that I think could really benefit from somebody like Jonathan Jones. But the only other thing here is that Jones has actually had a pretty good personal season despite having the 1-6 record for the Patriots. Has he missed coverages? Absolutely. But has he been the forefront when Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers were out? You lost Christian Barmore. You lost Jawan Bentley. So having a guy in the secondary that can probably be your last line of defense on defense, it's not that bad. I mean, once again, he could be having a better year, but the Patriots defense has had to work a lot this season because the Patriots offense really can't seem to figure a lot of things out. So Jonathan Jones has had to be on the field more than he's probably used to, which is why I think if you've got a contender that's calling you up, maybe a Kansas City Chiefs or somebody like that really wants somebody on defense, I think Jonathan Jones could be worth a call. The only other thing is that you're losing a leader on the field and you're losing a leader in the locker room. More recently, he just spoke up about the Gerard Mayo calling him soft comments and said, you know what, we were playing soft. So you're going to have to lose somebody that has a voice of reason in your locker room, but that kind of is what happens when you start to rebuild. And I do think that more than likely you're going to trade him to a contender, and the number one team that comes to my mind is the previous undefeated team in the NFL, which is the Minnesota Vikings, who are drastically in need for another member of their secondary. Not to mention their secondary has been pretty great so far this season. And I do think the Minnesota Vikings, who are trying to put all their eggs in the basket this year because they're off to such a hot start and an unexpected start with Sam Darnold, means that they'd be willing to make this trade. A 6th-round draft pick for 31-year-old Jonathan Jones, and I think you take that. I think you say goodbye. You now look forward to your secondary consisting of Marcellus Dial, your lone defensive draft pick this past year, Alex Austin, who I actually thought was going to make a case here, going up against Christian Gonzalez, but now he's on the IR, and then you leave it to Marcus Jones. I think that Jonathan Jones will be missed, but it's a trade you might need to make. But I have a question here. Should the Patriots trade for Jonathan Jones? Type T for trade, type K for keep. I've given you guys my reasons. Now give me yours in the comment section down below. Number 2, this one stings a little bit more, is Josh Uche. I know that Josh Uche hasn't had the best year that we've been wanting because the defense has been lackluster in the pass rush and the run defense in the last 3 weeks, to be specific. We've already lost Juwan Bentley. You already lost Matthew Judon to a trade before the season even started. So now you've got Raekwon McMillan, who was recently benched for Christian Ellis, and then you got Josh Uche on your edge, and my personal pick at edge, Anthony Jennings. I think Anthony Jennings is just better than Uche. But when it does come to a player like Josh, and knowing there are teams out there that could use a pretty good pass rusher, which is what Uche is, he's a pretty good pass rusher. On a contending team, would he be a starter? Probably not. But he was a trade candidate this time last year. So the Patriots have already been open to taking calls for Josh. Not to mention he signed a one-year deal for $3 million in the offseason. So they're not looking to keep him a part of the rebuild next season, but he has played in New England for 5 years, so he could be another voice of reason, kind of like how Jonathan Jones is. But his participation is starting to go down the last 3 weeks here. Maybe because the Patriots are just really starting to change some of the lineups, which is what Gerard Mayo was looking towards. In Week 5, he played 24 snaps, which is 31% of the defensive snaps. Week 6 went down to 20. Week 7, he only played 11 snaps in London. So it's starting to show me the Patriots are already kind of moving on from a player like Josh Uche and going into the depth chart. But the only thing that would really suck this season in particular, if you do trade away Josh by November 5th, is that he is, unfortunately, your best pass rusher. A 72.7 PFF grade next to Anthony Jennings at 61.1, and then Dietrich Wise, who's also a captain, at 58. So you're losing a huge chunk of your already pretty average pass rush, which does kind of put you in the middle of the pack in the NFL rankings. So yeah, you're going to have to bite the dust this season, but you will be able to rebuild and possibly pick up some depth players on defense, which the Patriots only picked up one defensive guy this last year in the draft. And the number one team that comes to mind is a team that just lost their top pass rusher, the Detroit Lions. They lost Aiden Hutchinson for the season, which is a huge blow when it comes to defensive ends. And I do think that if you do add a linebacker and an edge rusher like Josh Uche, he can fill in that depth chart. Because right now, the Detroit Lions are going pretty deep into their depth chart, and they're also losing some practice squad players. So kind of a similar situation. I think Jonathan Jones, they're both worth a 6th-round pick. Maybe you could even get a 7th-round pick out of Josh, but I think you use the leverage of losing Aiden Hutchinson, and you really start to just make some calls about Josh Uche. But my question here for you guys is, do you think the defense would be okay for this season without Josh? We've already lost several members on the defensive side of the football, so I think if you lost Josh, you can pretty much kiss your pass rush goodbye, but you're already 1-6. What else is there to lose? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Before I bring up my last and final trade target candidate here for the Patriots, I know it's getting super chilly up there in the Northeast right now, so if you guys are looking to go to a Gillette Stadium, a Patriots game, or maybe even gearing up for some Boston Celtics game, I know it's inside, but still, you got to walk there, you got to take an Uber there. I highly suggest using this 40% off discount right now on this beautiful zip-up hoodie. I think it's super classy. I think you can wear it to the gym. I think you can wear it at the bar. You can wear it at Gillette Stadium, TD Garden. Anything, everywhere, I think it'll really fit in. If you guys want to get that deal, it's super easy. All you have to do is use chatsports.com/Patriots hoodie, and that's going to get you guys 40% off. Gear up for the winter and go on ahead and check it out right now. This one's going to be a little bit of a conversation starter, trading away the newly appointed wide receiver coming off IR, Kendrick Bourne. Obviously, Bourne was going to be your top wide receiver last year, but he got injured, and now he's coming back, and they really haven't used him, in my opinion, the way that they should. Maybe that'll change if they ever fire Alex Van Pelt, but Demario Douglas is your clear wide receiver 1. He's the only wide receiver that's been getting you consistent first downs throughout this season. Jalen Polk right now in concussion protocol, but also proved that he has terrible hands. Could be rookie jitters, but we have yet to see his full potential. And then Kayshon Boutte, he's been more of your deep threat. So that leaves KJ Osborne and Kendrick Bourne and Tyquan Thornton, who I just personally think it just needs to go as well. So if you were to get rid of Kendrick Bourne, obviously this would hurt fans a lot more than I think it would possibly hurt the team. He looks really healthy coming back from his ACL injury. That's a reason why you can possibly pan him out there as a trade candidate. But he also does open up more targets for younger receivers. You got to remember, this is a rebuild, and Bourne's been with the Patriots for quite some time. He signed a 3-year deal back in March, but they're not using Bourne the way that they should be. So you might as well get draft capital because he could be a very good depth chart wide receiver. Demario Douglas, in Week 7 alone, he only took 20 snaps on offense because he was dealing with a sickness. He came back in, he played the beginning and the end of the game. So normally his snap count is going to be a lot higher. Then you have Jalen Polk, who's playing way more snaps than he needs to, in my opinion. Kayshon Boutte is actually playing the most snaps out of any wide receiver on the Patriots so far this season. Kendrick Bourne, 37 snaps only, which is, 13 less than Kayshon Boutte is playing right now? I just think that if you're going to waste his talent on the sideline, go get a draft pick for him and use it on somebody else next season. Not to mention there are several Super Bowl contenders right now that are dealing with wide receiver injuries. Brandon Ayuk just placed on IR for the San Francisco 49ers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers just lost Godwin and Mike Evans in the same ball game. Seattle Seahawks, Detroit Lions just lost Jamison Williams on a 2-game suspension. Dallas Cowboys, it is CeeDee Lamb and nobody. That's why I think Kendrick Bourne, if he's going to be just wasted in the Patriots uniform, which really sucks. I think Alex Van Pelt should be fired, but that's a whole different video. Then go out and get a draft stock for him. I think you could possibly get another 6th-round pick for Kendrick Bourne. Maybe if you negotiated the right way and if Elliott Wolf really pulled it out of his ass, then maybe you could get a 5th at highest, but I wouldn't hold your breath on that. I'm thinking right now for those 3 players, you're getting a 6th or you're getting a 7th, which is still going to help the Patriots moving forward, who now, surprisingly, suck on defense and they suck on offense. Normally, we've been okay on defense. That's why we took 7 offensive players and 1 defensive player in the draft last year. But now that you've got some issues going on in the run defense, some issues going on in the pass rush, that means you can get more draft stock and you can keep this moving forward next year and just make the team younger. So my last question here for you guys is, would the Patriots regret trading away Kendrick Bourne? Because I'll be honest, the Kansas City Chiefs, they utilized Juju Smith-Schuster pretty well after we got rid of him on the Patriots. We didn't even find any reps for him one day in practice, and now we see him in the end zone on the Chiefs. Do you think we will see Kendrick Bourne thriving in another offense that's not the Patriots and we'll grow to regret it? Type R for regret and type A for accept. Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, do one thing for me. If the Patriots do make a trade, and if we have any news surrounding the NFL trade deadline, I'll have it right here on Patriots Today by Chat Sports. All you have to do is subscribe.